Have you ever noticed how cheese is in almost everything we eat? For breakfast, in a quick sandwich, on pasta for lunch, as an afternoon snack, and even in a dinner salad. It seems like a harmless, even comforting food. After all, who can resist a piece of cheese melting on warm bread? But here's the hard truth: this same food that brings immediate pleasure may be silently accelerating the aging of your body. The problem is that cheese carries a deceptive reputation. It's marketed as a source of calcium, protein, and even as part of a sophisticated diet. Advertisements, family recipes, and even doctors from past generations have reinforced this idea. But modern science has been revealing something few dare to talk about. For those who have passed the age of 60, cheese can become a daily saboteur of health. What seems like an innocent choice can, little by little, be shortening your vitality. Imagine your arteries as a system of pipes that carry life to every cell. Now think of something viscous and fatty being poured in there, every day, in small doses. Over time, these pipes begin to lose space, circulation becomes more difficult, and the risks increase without warning. Heart attacks, high blood pressure, fragile bones, loss of energy, all of this could be fueled by a seemingly harmless piece of cheese on your plate. And it doesn't stop there. There are common mistakes in cheese consumption that most people completely ignore. Mistakes that go far beyond simple quantity. They are hidden habits in our daily lives, details that seem insignificant but add up and turn into serious problems for the heart, brain, gut, and even our bones. Many seniors believe they are doing the best for their health by keeping cheese as a constant presence, when in fact they are silently building a trap for their own bodies. Throughout this video, you will discover the 7 most dangerous cheese-related mistakes that could be sabotaging your health after 60. And more, you will learn how to avoid them without giving up the pleasure of eating well. We will translate science into simple explanations, show practical alternatives, and reveal truths that rarely reach the general public. It's natural for you to wonder, am I also making these mistakes? That question is the first step toward change. The simple act of questioning what seems normal already opens the door to healthier aging, with more energy, fewer risks, and a better quality of life. If you believe that true information can save lives, including your own, then help spread this message. Like this video right now and strengthen the reach of this content. Many people your age still don't know that cheese can be a silent enemy. Your like could be the push they need to awaken. Get ready, what you are about to discover may forever change the way you look at the cheese on your plate. When we think of something dangerous for the heart, we immediately think of fried foods, trans fats, and ultra-processed sweets. But almost no one suspects that a seemingly harmless slice of cheese could be silently contributing to clogging our arteries. This is the first major mistake many make, ignoring the amount of saturated fat hidden in cheese. The science is clear. Cheese is one of the largest sources of saturated fat in the modern diet. This type of fat increases LDL cholesterol, known as bad cholesterol, which is responsible for forming plaques that build up on the walls of blood vessels. Think of it as a pipe being narrowed from the inside, leaving less space for blood to circulate. The result? More pressure, more effort for the heart, and a higher risk of heart attack or stroke. The scariest detail is that we're not talking about outrageous excesses. 1 or 2 slices a day can already represent a considerable load of saturated fat. And, contrary to what many believe, the body doesn't burn this fat easily. It deposits silently over the years. What starts as an innocent habit at breakfast can turn into a real threat after 60, when the body no longer responds with the same efficiency. And don't be mistaken, cheese is considered lighter, like mozzarella, still contains significant amounts of saturated fat. In people who already have high blood pressure, a family history of heart disease, or high cholesterol, each extra portion is like adding more fuel to the fire. Imagine someone who spends their whole life believing that a slice of cheese does no harm. On their 65th birthday, tests start to show uncontrolled cholesterol, hardened arteries, and an urgent medical recommendation to change their diet. At that moment, many wonder, how did this happen if I never overdid it so much? The answer, often, lies in the slow, almost imperceptible accumulation over decades. And here is the most important point: it's not about demonizing the food, but about seeing the hidden dangers. What's harmful isn't just the obvious excess, but also the constant and silent consumption. It's the habit of believing that cheese can be used as a substitute for lean protein, as a base for snacks, as a filling for pasta, as an accompaniment to almost everything. This repetitive habit, combined with natural aging, turns into a real cardiovascular trap. But you'd be wrong to think that the biggest risk of cheese is just the accumulation of fat in the arteries. There is another villain hidden inside that attacks in an even more treacherous way, especially for those over 60, excess salt. And it can be present even in cheeses that seem the most innocent. If the heart already suffers from saturated fat, the second mistake in cheese consumption is even more treacherous: hidden salt. Many believe that the problem with salt is only in the salt shaker we use at the table. But the reality is that most of the sodium we consume doesn't come from what we add to our food, but from what's already embedded in ready-made foods. And cheese is a champion at this disguise. Just look at aged cheeses like Parmesan, Provolone, and Gorgonzola. The strong flavor that pleases so many people comes precisely from the high concentration of salt used to preserve and intensify the taste. But this detail, which seems only to please the palate, has a very high cost for the body after 60. Excess sodium raises blood pressure, promotes fluid retention, and overloads the kidneys, which already function more slowly with age. To visualize it better, imagine that a serving of Parmesan cheese can carry as much sodium as an entire small bag of industrial snacks. The difference is that cheese, because it carries this image of a natural food, goes unnoticed. Many seniors generously sprinkle grated cheese on pasta, soups, and salads without imagining that, in just a few spoonfuls, they are exceeding the recommended salt limit for the entire day. And the science is clear: hypertension is one of the biggest risk factors for stroke, heart failure, and cognitive decline. Small daily excesses of salt, accumulated over the years, are enough to turn elastic, healthy arteries into rigid, narrow tubes. That's why someone who never overdid it is often surprised by high numbers on the blood pressure monitor. Another critical point is fluid retention. Anyone over 60 knows how ankles and feet can swell at the end of the day. This retention isn't just aesthetic, it's a sign that the body is overloaded, that the heart and kidneys are struggling to cope with the excess. And cheese, especially aged and smoked varieties, contributes directly to this problem, even when consumed in small amounts. And here is the most dangerous trap: the salt in cheese cannot be seen. It doesn't shine, it doesn't appear as crystals. It's mixed into the food structure, invisible to the eye. That's why it's so easy to lose track of how much you're consuming. This mistake, combined with that of saturated fat, creates a silent time bomb that can compromise both the heart and the kidneys. But you'd be mistaken to think that the impact of cheese on the 60-plus crowd stops here. There's an effect that catches many by surprise. While many believe that cheese strengthens bones, science shows that it may actually contribute to their weakening. For decades, we've heard the same message: drink milk and eat cheese for strong bones. This phrase was repeated in advertising campaigns, school books, and even in medical recommendations. But the truth that modern science is revealing is quite different, and it might surprise you. For those who have passed 60, consuming cheese with the belief that you are strengthening your bones can be a serious mistake. It's a fact, cheese contains calcium. But it also carries other elements that end up canceling out or even reversing this benefit. Among them are excess sodium and animal proteins, which promote the elimination of calcium through urine. In other words, instead of fixing calcium in the bones, the body ends up eliminating a good part of it, leaving the skeleton more fragile over time. Imagine the following scene: a 68-year-old woman, concerned about her bone health after hearing about osteoporosis, decides to increase her cheese consumption. She believes she is protecting herself, but tests conducted years later show just the opposite: reduced bone density, a higher risk of fractures, and a diagnosis of osteopenia. What seemed like a preventive measure turned, without her knowing, into a dietary trap. The process is silent. Unlike a stomach ache or high blood pressure that can be detected with a device, bone mass loss shows no immediate signs. It happens gradually, year after year. Often, it's only discovered when the first fracture occurs after a simple fall, a trip at home, or a slip in the bathroom. That's when the severity becomes apparent. Fragile bones after 60 can mean a loss of independence, mobility limitations, and even a risk to life. Another little discussed point is the relationship between the acidity generated by animal-based foods, like cheese, and the body's need to neutralize this environment. To balance its pH, the body draws basic minerals from the bones, including calcium. This natural mechanism, repeated every day, becomes another pathway for skeletal wear and tear. Of course, this isn't about eliminating calcium from the diet. On the contrary, it is essential. But the smart path is not to depend on cheese. Dark green vegetables, seeds, legumes, and even some fruits offer calcium in relevant amounts, without the side effect of bone loss. The difference lies in the source. While the calcium in cheese can be accompanied by sodium and proteins that expel it from the body, the calcium from plant-based foods integrates more harmoniously with your metabolism. This mistake, believing that cheese is the main defense against osteoporosis, is one of the most common and dangerous after 60. And worse, it prevents many people from seeking the real solutions, delaying effective measures until it's too late. And if the bones are already at risk from cheese consumption, there's another system that pays a high and immediate price: the gut. And the impact can be much greater than simple digestive discomfort. While the bones suffer in silence, the gut often screams, but we are not always able to interpret its signals. A critical mistake in cheese consumption is believing that it has no digestive impact. For those over 60, this is a dangerous trap, as the body changes over time, and one detail in particular makes all the difference: the natural reduction of the lactase enzyme. Lactase is responsible for breaking down lactose, the sugar present in milk and, consequently, in cheese. When we are young, most of us produce this enzyme in good quantity. But with aging, production decreases drastically. The result: every slice of cheese can turn into intestinal discomfort, even if you don't immediately associate it. The most common symptoms are gas, bloating, abdominal pain, and constipation. Many believe this is just normal for their age, when in fact they are signs of lactose intolerance. The danger is ignoring these warnings from the body and continuing to consume cheese daily. This constant stress on the gut goes beyond discomfort. It inflames the intestinal lining and harms the microbiota, that community of good bacteria that protects our immunity. Think of the gut as a garden. When it's healthy, it flourishes with diversity, maintaining the balance of the entire body. But when excess cheese causes inflammation and favors harmful bacteria, this garden begins to wither. Immunity drops, nutrient absorption becomes less efficient, and even mood can be affected. After all, a large part of the production of serotonin, the well-being hormone, happens right in the gut. And here is the most concerning detail: many seniors who face chronic constipation resort to medications and laxatives without imagining that part of the root of the problem is on their plate, disguised as a healthy food. It's common to hear stories of people who spend years struggling with digestive issues, only to discover, after eliminating cheese, that their gut starts to function regularly again. This cycle of intestinal inflammation has a cascade effect. An overloaded gut affects immunity, increases vulnerability to infections, and promotes inflammatory states that accelerate aging. In other words, each piece of cheese can not only cause immediate discomfort but also silently compromise the body's vital defenses. And if the gut suffers, the whole body suffers. It's as if every system is hit in a chain reaction: less energy, less protection, more wear and tear. And this leads us to another crucial point: besides overloading the gut, cheese can also steal your daily energy, turning meals that should nourish you into true metabolic burdens. Eating should be synonymous with energy, vitality, and enthusiasm. However, many seniors report the opposite: fatigue after meals, drowsiness that knocks them out on the sofa, and a lack of motivation for simple activities. What few realize is that cheese might be at the center of this problem. This is another mistake, believing that cheese sustains you when, in fact, it could be robbing you of your energy. The reason lies in how the body processes this food. Cheese is rich in fat and slow-digesting animal protein. To turn this combination into usable energy, the body has to work hard, the stomach takes longer to empty, the gut is pushed to its limits, and the liver is overloaded in metabolizing the fats. The result: the body diverts energy to digestion instead of leaving it available for you to move, think, and live. It's as if, after eating cheese, you put on a backpack full of rocks without realizing it. This invisible load weighs on you for hours, turning meals into an obstacle instead of fuel. And for those over 60, when metabolism naturally slows down, the effect is even more intense. In addition to fatigue, there is another critical factor: silent weight gain. A slice here, a piece there, and the caloric accumulation adds up. Cheese is dense in energy but poor in fiber, which means it provides little satiety and is very deceptive. The body receives extra calories without receiving enough nutrients to rejuvenate cells and tissues. Over time, this translates into an accumulation of abdominal fat, increased insulin resistance, and a higher risk of type 2 diabetes. And don't think that only the physical body pays the price. The digestive overload can be reflected in a slower mind, difficulty concentrating, and even mood changes. The explanation is simple: when energy is diverted to deal with difficult digestion, less is left for other vital functions, including the brain. It's no coincidence that so many people report brain fog or a heavy mind after cheese-laden meals. And here comes a worrying detail: often, this feeling of low energy leads to a search for more food, usually fast carbs or even more cheese. It's a vicious cycle: you eat for energy, but the result is the opposite: more fatigue and more fat accumulation. This process, repeated daily, can accelerate aging. The body begins to live in a state of constant overload, like a car that is always running in high gear, wearing out parts ahead of time. When we think about the risks of cheese, we almost always remember the heart, cholesterol, or the belly that insists on growing. But there is a silent, much more delicate territory that also suffers: the brain. This is a major mistake, believing that cheese only affects the physical body, when in fact it can influence how we think, remember, and feel. The explanation lies in the composition of ultra-processed cheeses, which are increasingly present on our tables. Sliced processed cheeses, creamy boxed cheeses, and cheese-like products hide additives, preservatives, colorings, and even trans fats. These substances silently inflame the body, including the brain. Studies show that diets rich in saturated fat and sodium are associated with a higher risk of cognitive decline. The excess of these nutrients can affect cerebral circulation, reducing oxygenation to areas fundamental for memory. It's as if, little by little, the brain were turning off lights, compromising essential functions without giving immediate signs. In the long term, this process is linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Although it's not the only factor, the frequent consumption of ultra-processed cheese adds to other harmful habits, creating fertile ground for these problems to appear. For those over 60, when the brain's natural protection begins to decline, this risk becomes even more relevant. But it's not just memory that suffers. Many report a feeling of a heavy mind, difficulty concentrating, and mood swings. Cheese, by interfering with the balance of the gut microbiota and the metabolism of neurotransmitters, can directly affect mental well-being. It's no wonder that some studies call the gut the second brain. When it's inflamed, the reflection appears as anxiety, irritability, and even depression. Imagine someone who, every day, eats cheese believing they are just enjoying something tasty. Years later, they begin to notice frequent forgetfulness, lapses in attention, and even difficulty learning new things. Without knowing it, this person may be contributing to this condition with seemingly innocent food choices. And here is the most shocking revelation: cheese not only causes inflammation in the brain but can also create a kind of dependency. A chemical mechanism makes it difficult to give up, even when we already know the risks. And this is precisely the final mistake, perhaps the most treacherous of all: the silent addiction that keeps so many people trapped by cheese without realizing it. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Have you ever found it difficult to cut cheese out of your diet? Share your experience in the comments. Your answer might help others realize they are not alone in this struggle. Did you know that cheese can create a type of chemical dependency? This is the seventh critical mistake. Many seniors don't realize they are unintentionally hooked on it. The culprit is casein, a protein present in milk and, consequently, in cheese. During digestion, casein breaks down into peptides that act on the brain similarly to mild opioids, creating feelings of pleasure and comfort. It's simple to understand the effect. Each piece of cheese activates reward circuits in the brain, releasing small doses of dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitter. Anyone over 60 who maintains old eating habits might feel drawn to cheese several times a day, even knowing the risks to their bones, heart, or gut. This chemical attraction is subtle but persistent, and it explains why cutting out cheese can be so difficult. The most treacherous part is that this addiction happens silently. There are no dramatic external signs, no one develops visible withdrawal, tremors, or crises, but the mind creates strong associations. Eating cheese becomes a comfort, an automatic reward after a tiring day or an incomplete meal. And the more recurrent the habit, the harder it becomes to break the cycle. But there is hope. Recognizing the pattern is the first step to regaining control of your diet. Smart substitutions, like plant-based cheeses made from nuts, seasoned tofu, or seed pâtés, can provide pleasure to the palate without the risks associated with traditional cheese. The idea is not to eliminate flavor, but to offer alternatives that nourish the body and respect the limits of metabolism and digestion. Furthermore, small strategies help to re-educate the palate. Gradually reducing portions, including natural seasonings for flavor, and increasing fiber and water intake, all these habits lessen the dependency on casein and allow the brain to adjust slowly. Over time, the craving for cheese naturally diminishes, without suffering. The crucial point is to understand that this addiction is not a failure of willpower. It's a chemical response from the body and brain, amplified by decades of habit. Knowing this changes the perspective. Cutting out cheese stops being a sacrifice and becomes an act of self-care, protecting your heart, bones, gut, and brain all at the same time. And now that you know the 7 critical mistakes of cheese, there is a practical path forward, discovering safe alternatives that bring pleasure without harm. That's what we'll explore next, showing concrete solutions that really work for those who want to live with health and vitality after 60. After understanding the 7 most dangerous mistakes of cheese, the question arises: how can you continue to enjoy your meals without compromising your health? The answer lies in smart alternatives. Replacing cheese with foods that nourish and protect the body is possible, pleasurable, and totally accessible for those over 60. One option is plant-based cheeses made from nuts, like almonds or cashews. They offer a creamy texture and pleasant flavor without excess saturated fat or sodium. Additionally, they are rich in good fats, fiber, and antioxidants, which help protect the heart, strengthen bones, and improve digestion. Another alternative is seasoned tofu, which provides high-quality protein without overloading the gut. Seed pâtés and grain spreads also bring flavor and consistency, while strengthening the gut microbiota and aiding in satiety. The interesting thing is that these substitutions not only avoid the problems of traditional cheese but also add extra benefits. For example, increasing the consumption of nuts and seeds provides magnesium, zinc, and B-complex vitamins, nutrients that are often lacking in the diets of seniors and are essential for energy, bones, and brain function. A practical example: imagine a 65-year-old woman who loved putting grated cheese on her meals. By swapping it for a nut-based cheese and adding pumpkin seeds to her dish, she noticed, in just a few weeks, improved digestion, more energy throughout the day, and less fluid retention. Small changes, but with a direct impact on well-being and quality of life. Another valuable tip is creativity in the kitchen. Natural seasonings like fresh herbs, garlic, smoked paprika, or nutritional yeast can replace the strong flavor of cheese without harming your health. Incorporating these alternatives gradually helps the palate adjust, making the transition smooth and enjoyable. The most important thing is to realize that these substitutions are not just a matter of taste. They represent conscious choices that strengthen the entire body, heart, bones, gut, and brain. By adopting nutritious alternatives, you are protecting your body from decades of silent accumulation of fat, sodium, and harmful additives. And if these choices are already powerful, there is a complementary strategy that enhances the results, gradually reducing cheese consumption, training the palate, and avoiding withdrawal effects or intense cravings. This simple and practical technique is the next step towards a lighter and healthier life. Cutting out cheese abruptly can seem impossible. Many seniors who are already used to it feel immediate resistance, the craving arises, the palate complains, and the feeling of missing something can lead to frustration. That's why the best approach is intelligent reduction, a gradual process that allows the body and mind to adapt, without suffering. The first step is to identify the situations where cheese appears daily and reduce small portions. For example, if you usually add grated cheese to every meal, gradually decrease the amount until you replace it with healthier alternatives, like crushed nuts, nutritional yeast, or small portions of seasoned tofu. This slow transition helps the palate get used to it without feeling like it's losing flavor. Another essential point is to use natural seasonings. Garlic, fresh herbs, smoked paprika, or a drizzle of olive oil can provide the strong flavor that cheese used to give. The mind associates the pleasure of the meal with the complete flavor, not just the presence of cheese. This change reduces compulsion and makes the process more sustainable. Adequate hydration also plays an important role. Drinking water throughout the day helps reduce fluid retention and facilitates digestion, lessening the feeling of bloating that is often mistakenly attributed to aging. In addition, including fiber in the diet present in vegetables, fruits, and seeds promotes satiety and keeps the gut healthy, complementing the gradual reduction of cheese. The goal of this strategy is not to create restriction, but rather to educate the palate. With a few weeks of practice, the intense craving for cheese naturally diminishes, and the feeling of pleasure returns to being provided by complete, nutritious meals. The change becomes part of your lifestyle, without suffering or frustration. And here's the advantage: by gradually reducing cheese consumption, you create space in your diet for foods that truly strengthen the body. Vegetables, fruits, legumes, and seeds take center stage, providing essential nutrients for the heart, bones, gut, and brain, precisely the areas most affected by excessive cheese consumption. This intelligent transition ensures that you not only avoid the risks associated with cheese but also build habits that promote vitality, energy, and longevity. It's a simple step, but one that can completely redefine the way you age. And, in addition to gradual reduction, there is a powerful path: strengthening the body with foods that truly rejuvenate, protecting natural defenses and promoting holistic health. After understanding the risks of cheese and applying intelligent reduction, the opportunity arises to transform your diet into a true health ally. The secret is not just in avoiding what's bad, but in including foods that strengthen the body, protect the heart, bones, gut, and brain, promoting longevity and well-being for those over 60. Berries, like strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries, are powerful allies. They contain antioxidants that fight free radicals, helping to reduce inflammation and protect vital cells. Cruciferous vegetables, such as broccoli, kale, and cabbage, provide essential minerals and bioactive compounds that strengthen bones and aid in detoxification. Legumes, like beans, lentils, and chickpeas, offer quality protein, fiber, and magnesium, promoting satiety and intestinal health. Seeds and nuts also come into play, providing good fats, zinc, and selenium, nutrients that protect the heart and brain. The goal is to create varied, colorful, and micronutrient-rich dishes capable of replacing cheese as a source of pleasure and nutrition. Small adaptations in your daily routine, like replacing grated cheese with crushed nuts or adding seeds to salads, can generate immediate and noticeable benefits in weeks. In addition to direct nutrition, these foods contribute to overall vitality. More energy during the day, regular digestion, stronger bones, protected circulation, and a clear mind are concrete results when the body receives quality fuel. The effect is cumulative: each healthy choice reinforces the previous one, creating a virtuous cycle of health and longevity. The most interesting part is that these changes don't mean sacrifice. On the contrary, they offer pleasure, flavor, and satisfaction. Learning to prepare simple, creative, and nutritious recipes transforms eating into a moment of personal care, far from concerns about saturated fat, sodium, or additives. And now that you know the 7 mistakes of cheese, nutritious alternatives, and the strategy of intelligent reduction, there is only one step left: consolidating these choices in your daily life and making them a lasting habit. This final decision is what defines the future of your vitality and quality of life. If you've already discovered something new so far, share this video with friends or family who also deserve to age healthily. Your gesture could be the incentive they needed to transform their own diet. We have reached the most important moment: the decision to transform your health and age with vitality. During this video, you discovered the 7 most common mistakes of cheese for those over 60, learned about nutritious alternatives that protect the heart, bones, gut, and brain, and learned practical strategies to reduce consumption without suffering. Now it's time to consolidate this information into habits that really make a difference. Aging healthily is not a matter of luck, but of daily choices. Every meal is an opportunity to strengthen the body, protect natural defenses, and ensure energy, enthusiasm, and mental clarity. Replacing traditional cheese with plant-based options, gradually reducing intake, and including foods that truly nourish is not just a dietary change, it's a life change. Think about the concrete benefits: a lower risk of heart attacks and strokes, stronger bones, balanced digestion, a clearer mind, and renewed energy. Every small action you implement today adds up to a future of autonomy, vitality, and well-being. It's not about perfection, but about consistency. Small adjustments made every day result in great health achievements. And here is the most motivating point: you have total control over this journey. The knowledge you have acquired now is the tool that allows you to act intelligently, preventing problems that many believe are inevitable after 60. This power of decision places you at the center of your own vitality, turning simple choices into long-term actions that change lives. If you want to continue receiving practical, reliable, and science-based information to age healthily, subscribe now to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss exclusive tips, nutrition strategies, and guidance that can revolutionize your quality of life. Every step you take towards conscious eating is one more step towards living with energy, clarity, and independence. Remember, healthy aging is the result of daily decisions, applied knowledge, and consistent habits. Avoiding the mistakes of cheese, adopting nutritious alternatives, and implementing smart strategies turns your body into a powerful ally. The choice is in your hands. Make it the foundation of a long, full, and vibrant life.